Hey everybody, Christopher here, and forgive the kind of messy looking setup here. I'm kind of reorganizing things for some voiceover, but I have been looking in a bit on this whole GameStop stock market thing going on, and I thought, you know what, this is a great opportunity to relate it to content creation and being a business person who maybe wants to make a living with that content creation or filmmaking or music or comic books or whatever it might be. And you might be seeing the GameStop stuff and going, hey, what kind of stock might I be able to buy into? You know, how can I maybe get some of the wealth back from the billionaire class back down to the working person? And I am not a stock market person. I'm starting to read about it a little bit, and I have come to the conclusion through me reading a bit about economics and stock market, because I do think these things are important if you're going to be a business person. So what is the best stock to invest in for you at the moment? Well, it's you, not the stock market. Stay out of this. That's my advice. If you have never dabbled in the stock market before, if you have just started to learn about stocks because of this whole GameStop Wall Street bets thing. Okay, I'm just going to give it to you straight here. It's kind of making me angry because we don't really understand what's going on if we are not stock market people. If we don't trade, we don't even dabble. I have friends that do stock market stuff and that sort of thing. Yes, there's fishy stuff going on Wall Street and the stock market, and there's definitely rules for some people and not for other people. That's becoming evident, and I'm glad that is. And I hope what this does is this inspires people to learn more about the economy, to learn more about stocks, and to learn more about what it is to be a business person, because that's very important if you're going to be a creative person. Now, I've said in my introduction video, I'm going to talk about a lot of creative stuff, but I'm also going to talk about some bookkeeping and that sort of thing. Look, for you to get involved in this because you might think it's a fun meme or a LARP, or you're getting in on some sticking it to the man or revolution. Look, if you don't understand what's going on fully, if this is not in your wheelhouse of experience and expertise, then the chances of you making a difference are zero. No matter what anybody tells you, okay? It's like handing a blowtorch to a toddler and then telling them to go fix a broken car engine. The chances of that being successful are zero, and the chances of the toddler hurting themselves or even hurting people around them are pretty much 100%. Something's going to go bad, okay? Now, that's not to say that the Wall Street bets people what they did isn't going to have its benefits. What I'm saying is leave that to them, okay? Leave it to them. They obviously figured out a way of doing this. Now, the fact that you are looking at that and taking that as them pointing and going, hey, everybody go do this and we'll, have this great result. Again, that is very dangerous. You don't know these people. You don't know what these people know. And you also don't know what they might themselves be ignorant of, okay? So just leave it to them. The best investment is you, okay? This is so important. This is really what this channel is all about, okay? And like I said, I'm not saying don't get involved in the stock market. I'm just saying learn what the stock market is before you do. Understand what you're doing. Understand the risk. Understand the risk to yourself and understand the risk to other people. There is risk to other people in what's going on right now, besides the billionaire class, okay? And again, I'm not saying what the billionaire class doing is perfectly okay, but that is a topic of discussion for people who understand this stuff, okay? You're not, this is not, you're not just going to jump in on being a doctor and go into surgery all of a sudden, so why are you going to jump in on this stock thing? Meanwhile, what this is doing, how this is hurting you, is you have forgotten your primary goal, your primary reason for doing what you do as a content creator. Now, you may be a political content creator, and that's fine. And if you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about, you have legitimate knowledge that makes it so you can speak on the matter, then that's fine. But if you're like me, you're interested in working with green screens and Blender and creating storyboards and writing good scripts and producing good content for video on demand, then you really at the moment need to, watch the news. That's fine. But you need to not let it consume you, because social media becomes like an addiction. Hating a certain politician becomes like an addiction. It is a detriment. If you've watched anyone with an addiction, they become irrational, they become angry, and they become unproductive, and they don't have any value. They don't add any value to anybody's life that's around them. They don't add any value to their work or anything like that. They become a detriment. And that's what you will become if you keep getting distracted and going off and doing these things. You will have, again, zero chance of making a positive difference. You will actually become a detriment, a kind of antimatter. People will not want you around because they can't use you for anything. And I don't mean use like in a negative way. I mean, like, you have no value, you have no skill that is going to make things better. And that's what I mean by investing in yourself. Build something. This is why I am a meritocratic free market constitutional capitalist, okay? Because if you ever build something and you put your effort into it and you put your some suffering into it, you're willing to sacrifice for it, and then it turns into something of value, something that people can use. And I've talked about this on the channel as well, where I say, good art. This is what I was going back to Alan Moore. He said, give the audience something. Don't give them what they want, give them what they need. And I kind of amended that and said, give them something that is useful, that they can take with them and will be useful in their life experience. Well, there are many different ways you can be useful. That's one of them. You can be useful by making money. You can be useful by making raw materials. People who work in rock quarries and mine metal ore and coal and all this sort of thing. That's what they're doing. People who work as lumberjacks, cutting down trees and creating lumber so we can build homes. These are raw materials that are useful. And the next stage of that usefulness is taking those raw materials and turning it into something that is useful to the average person who, it may be a home, it may be a car, it may be their cell phone, it may be the camera you use for your content creation. And then you take those materials and you create something useful to an audience, as a story, something that helps them to have a better grasp and understanding of their life in general, something that they can relate to and take with them and use in their daily experiences. And those people may be the lumberjacks, the coal miners, the oil workers, the people that work at the power plant and that sort of thing. It's all, a circle of life. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about, okay? Everybody has a way that they can be useful, and that's what investing in yourself is figuring out what it is about you that you can contribute to society that has value. A lot of the complaints about the stock traders is like, well, they don't actually contribute anything. They're just, like playing hot potato. And yeah. I'm sure there's some merit to that, but I don't know, and you don't know. And unless you want to commit yourself to finding out and learning, so you can be useful in that situation, again, all you're going to be is a baby with a blowtorch. And, I'll tell you a quick story, okay? I believe it was Vladimir Lenin. He was essentially saying, like, looking at all these farmers, right? These farmers who had built, they owned land and they worked like 18-hour days, producing crops that were obviously useful to everybody who wants to eat. And he found that, they owned all this land and they were accruing wealth from their work, which was rightfully earned. So he went to, the village where these farmers lived. And honestly, like by today's standards, they lived pretty modestly. They may have had like a 2-story brick house or something like that, but they worked really hard. And he said, essentially like, hey, you the people, like, you're entitled to this land too. And, these guys, they've got all this land and they're making all this money. And what you don't have any of that money. Well, a lot of these people were just kind of like, they weren't working to contribute. Some of them may have worked on the farm and maybe been disgruntled or something like that. Others were happy to have a job, but some of them were like just miserable people who just all they did all day was mooch off of others and drink at the bar and feel sorry for themselves. They weren't really considering anything. Okay, baby with a blowtorch. And here comes this guy saying like, hey, these people that have more than you, they, you deserve some of that as well. And they went, yeah, they liked hearing that. So suddenly they had an excuse to come in and take all this stuff from these farmers and redistribute it. And these people were, sent to Siberia to starve. Meanwhile, there was no one left that knew how to till that field. They took all the food, they shipped it to the cities, and they gave the people like, oh, here's your portion of land, but there wasn't anything left. Nobody knew how to farm it. Nobody knew how to, monitor the weather or understand when to plant or anything like that. And there was nothing left to plant because they didn't understand that when they took all the food from the farmers, you had to leave some to grow the next round of crops. So what happened? Everybody starved to death. Baby with a blowtorch. Baby with a blowtorch is very harmful. Now, I'm not saying this is what's happening in the stock market or is going to happen with the stock market. I don't know. I'm saying I don't know. You probably don't know. And if you do, good for you. And if you do, you probably have a better grasp on this and maybe you can contribute something useful to it. But I'm telling you, have faith in your art. Your stock is what you create. Your IP, your library of content. These things over time will accrue value, compound interest. If you are successful, what you have has value. You will build that over time and that will be yours. And unless someone comes along who's bitter and angry to take it away from you under some pretense, and then, and it's going to be worthless to them because they don't know what to do with it. You do because you're the one that built it. So, for the love of God, just have faith in what you're doing, okay? Yes, learn business. Be a good business person. But work in your own self-interest. Build your IP. Build your art. Make it so it's something that only you can do. That's where your value is. And I mean, I can't really say any more about this without becoming redundant. But look, it's a weird time. 2021 is going to be weirder than 2020. And it's going to be very easy to get swept up in a lot of this stuff. And yes, take an interest in it. Learn more. You can always benefit from new information. But don't just go and attack the next person that somebody points it at, because you may, look, that person may be well-intentioned or they may not. Even if they're not well-intentioned, or even if they are well-intentioned, good intentions don't always mean smart decisions. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that means that more often than not, people who have goodwill in their heart still make stupid decisions that end up being just detrimental to everybody. People get hurt, people get killed, people lose. And if you don't know what you're doing, you are that baby with a blowtorch, except you're not a baby. I mean, I don't know who's watching this channel, but you're most likely an adult. If you're a teenager, look, somebody hands you a blowtorch and points and just says, go fix that. It's your responsibility to say, hey, put down the blowtorch and say, I don't know anything about that. I don't even know if this blowtorch is the right tool, and I don't have the wherewithal to handle it in a way that'll be beneficial to me or anyone else. It could be harmful. That's your responsibility. So, grow up, learn how to use a blowtorch, learn how the engine works. I'm speaking metaphorically, before you go and try and fix it, because otherwise, again, your chances of doing so are 0, but your chances of hurting yourself and most likely others is 100%. So stick with what you know, and if you feel you don't know enough, take the time to learn it. I'm getting redundant, I know, but I cannot stress this enough. Please, for the love of God, invest in yourself. And I think a very wise person said, a person who is most successful is a person who knows everything they possibly can about the field they're trying to be successful in. So that should be you. You should constantly be trying to learn and, yes, go out there and get some experience, fail, but, fail because you got some knowledge and you moved forward and yeah, you fell, but you learned from that experience. But don't go, waving that blowtorch around, cutting down other toddlers or whatever. I don't know. The metaphor is getting worn thin. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep creating your content, amassing your IP, your intellectual property, build that library. Make sure you own the rights to what it is you do. Create something that has value and try to accrue more and more of that value so that people come to you for that and make sure it's yours. That's the best investment. If you want to get involved with the stock market, read some basic economics, read some, stock market stuff, follow the stock news, or preferably consult a financial advisor because they actually went to school for this. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Keep creating that content. Don't get swept up in all the stuff going on because it can easily sweep you away like some flood current, that your poor mud-sodden body will be washed up on some shore, and then you're no good to yourself or anyone. So I will be back with more. I have more things to talk about that have nothing to do with GameStop, but with content creation. So please subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell, and I'll be back because I got a lot to say about writing right now. A lot of writing stuff has been on my mind, and I'm going to be doing some practical effects stuff. I'm going to be making a tentacle mechanism because I'm going to be featured in this little special effects before and after magazine, so I'll have news about that later. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.